Hey everybody, it's Charlene. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a card I made using some of the new release products. Here we have the Eternal Love 6x6 stamp set as well as the matching honey cuts. These are beautifully illustrated, and you can see here I've taken the big cluster of peonies and I'm going to stamp them out in some intense black ink. Now this intense black ink from Honeybee works great for alcohol marker coloring, which is what I'm going to be doing today. And I'm going to share with you my tips for really making your large floral images like this pop when you're alcohol marker coloring. I am going to be using my Olo markers. I'm starting out here with 5.1, which is my lightest color, R5.1, and I'm going to color in the entire first floral. Now, a couple of things here. I'm adding some 5.3, which is actually going to be my mid-tone. So I'm going to have a slightly darker color after this, but I'm really going to put all the shading that I want using the 5.3, and then I'll just take the next darkest color, which is the 5.5, and I'll really highlight those shadows. So I'm almost dotting in those areas, and I'm not going all the way through where I've colored with the 5.3. Now I can come back with that 5.3 and blend out the 5.5, the darkest. So I did the entire flower with the lightest, then I did my medium color, so it was slightly darker, my mid-tone, and that's where I put the shadows, and then I used the very darkest color, which was the 5.5, just to really get in those spots where I wanted a dark shadow. So you can see here again, I did the whole color. And then once I put the darkest color, I went back to the mid-tone, to that second darkest color, and I pulled out the darkest color. And what I mean by pulling out is I'm taking my marker and I'm running it over the dark spot in the direction I want the dark color to blend out. So it's going to get pulled by the alcohol ink that is in the marker. That's going to be going on the paper, and then the motion of where I'm pulling is what's going to cause it to blend in that direction. Once I have done all of that, I do come back in with the lightest color again, the 5.1, and only hit the highlight areas. I'm not going over the whole image again. I'm just going back over those areas where I want it to be the brightest. For my leaves, I'm doing something slightly different. I'm using YG 8.3, 8.5, and 8.7, but I'm starting with the light, then I'm going immediately to the dark, pulling that out with the second darkest color, and then again hitting the highlights with the lightest color. The only other spot to color is the stems, and I'm going to use my darkest color there, the YG 8.7, and that's all because it is a very small space and there's not a whole lot of room to get in there and color. Now, in terms of where I'm putting my shadows, there's all kinds of different ways that you can do this. What I'm choosing to do for this particular image is that I'm just thinking about how would the shadow be thrown if the light was coming from overhead. Now, here's a few tips about other reasons you might want to shadow an area. For the leaves, if I'm wanting to create the look of a bent leaf so that it's kind of curled over, I am going to put some shadow at the base of the leaf as well as at the tip of the leaf. So then it's going to look like the highest point is the highlighted area, and that's where the sun is hitting coming from up above. Now, some of you may have noticed that at the beginning there was a notch cut out of the cardstock that I did stamp. I actually went back and re-stamped the floral because the first time I colored it, I was not happy with the colors that I chose, and so I redid the whole thing. Now, here is another tip to help your stamped images really popped that are colored, is to put it right back in your stamp positioner in the exact same spot and re-stamp with your black ink. Now, you do need to be careful when you're doing this because you want to make sure that that piece of paper is right back in the same spot, or you're not going to get the stamp to line up with the image. But adding that extra layer of black ink once you are all done really is going to darken the stamp lines and make the colors pop off the page. For the next step on this card, I am using the new Eyelet Lace 3D embossing folder and coordinating die set. So you have this beautiful embossing folder that has these polka dots over the whole thing, and then it has some kind of lacy detail on the edges. And you can see this coordinating die here. All I'm doing is taking an A2 size piece of cardstock and cutting it with that die so that I can get the shaped border that's going to line up perfectly with my embossing folder. So now when I ran the whole thing through the embossing folder, you can see I have all of that lovely lace detailing at the bottom. And this is really pretty on either side. So you could use either side of the embossed image for a card. This would look gorgeous with some ink blending, lots of different things. I chose to keep it simple for this card and just go with some white cardstock. Now I have that beautiful detail edge there, so I'm going to pick out a piece of pattern paper to use that's going to peek out from the edge on my card. So I've gone through the Textiles and Texture vintage paper pad, and I've used this before in other videos. It is a beautiful paper pad. It has all of these lovely textured pages that just are really going to work well for your projects. I chose this one that kind of has a material type look to it. Maybe it's some burlap or something along those lines. And then I have gone ahead and glued it to the front of my A2 size card and just glued my embossed piece right over the top of that. So now I have that fun little detail sticking out there at the bottom. I did go ahead and stamp a sentiment from the exact same set. It says, "Thank you for being you," which is just a very sweet, simple sentiment. And then I went ahead and I die cut several extras of both the floral die as well as the die for the sentiment. So that way I could layer them up and create some extra dimension on this card. So I cut out 3 of the floral piece and I cut out 3 of the sentiment piece. And then I just layered those with some liquid glue. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue everything down directly. That dimension is really going to add a lot to your card. And this will still be easy to mail. Plus, because I didn't use foam tape, I don't have to worry about any edges bending because those pieces are going to be really solid. For a little bit of bling, I've come in with the Vintage Pearls pearl stickers. These are beautiful. They coordinate perfectly with the paper pad. And I've chosen the light pink color, which is going to complement the lightest pink that I've chosen to use in the peony. All right, here's my finished card. I hope you guys picked up some tips and tricks today. Please be sure to like and subscribe so that way you'll know about future tutorials here on the Honeybee Stamps YouTube channel. I hope you all have a wonderful day.